Welcome to the Properties to Profit podcast. I'm Michael, your host. Excited to share with you my journey from a six-figure job to building a successful real estate business. Each episode will explore various aspects of real estate investing, from wholesaling and flipping to managing rentals. I'll share the lessons and insights I've gained, aiming to help you avoid mistakes and achieve your financial goals. Expect guest experts, valuable tips, and practical advice to guide you on your own real estate journey. Thank you for tuning in. If you find any value in this podcast, please subscribe, share, and follow me on social media. Let's turn properties into profits together.
Hey guys, are you struggling to figure out how to build your rental portfolio right now in today's interest rate environment, the tariffs, everything going on? Well, today we've got a way to overcome that. And it's a little bit different than lease options. There's a little bit more risk involved in this way. So first off, thank you everyone, and welcome back to Properties to Profits, where we're going to break down this powerful real estate strategy called Subject To. And like I said, it's a little bit risky, and I know it's a little bit controversial with everything that's going on in this market, but we have found a good way to make it work, and I want to walk you guys through it. And it's about creating a win-win. And today's in real estate environment, it's complicated. It's not as easy as it once was. And let's talk through it, right? And let's start with the basics. What is subject to? Well, and what does it mean to buy one subject to? It's kind of what it sounds like. You are buying the property subject to the existing mortgage. So what this looks like is the loan stays in the seller's name. The deed, the actual ownership, goes and transfers over to you. And you're agreeing to make the mortgage payments on the seller's behalf, but the loan doesn't change. It stays exactly the same. If there's 15 years left on it, or 27 or 28 or 29 even, that's what's left, and you make those payments. There's no formal assumption of the loan, which means it's not reporting to your credit or anything like that. And it doesn't affect your DTI down the road. And you don't have to go get qualified and do bank paperwork and wait 30 days and put a significant amount of money down if you don't want to. You are literally stepping into the seller's shoes, and you get to start controlling the property immediately. And there's benefits to the seller. And you're asking, why would a seller do this? Well, it provides them immediate relief from a mortgage payment they can't afford or just don't want anymore, especially for sellers facing foreclosure or struggling to sell the house that's been sitting for months. That's not uncommon in today's market. People just can't afford houses at the new interest rates. They just broke 7% at the time of this recording, late May. Second, it avoids the hit to their credit from a foreclosure or short sale or a missed mortgage payment. Third, it allows them to walk away with dignity, knowing the payments are going to be handled and they can move on to the next steps, whatever that really looks like for them. Now, why is it attractive to us, the buyer, or us investors? Well, we can take control of this property with minimal money up front. So it's not the typical 10, 15, 20% down that we're used to seeing, or even 25% is what some banks are asking for right now. And we get to negotiate how much cash we're going to give, whether we got to get payments caught up, right? If that's the case, and maybe we give them a few $1,000, maybe we let them stay in the house for a month or two. There's lots of flexibility here, and it comes down to whatever you're willing to negotiate with the seller. You don't need to qualify for a mortgage here. You just step in and take control of asset, and you just take over their payments, whatever the interest rate and terms. And a lot of times the interest rate is cheaper than what we could get today. And that is giving you a lot of options there. This allows you to rent it, rehab it, flip it, or hold it, all while making payments usually at a cheaper existing mortgage. And there's a lot of flexibility with that. And last but not least, one of the benefits is faster acquisition. No banks, no underwriting, just a motivated seller and a clean deal. Man, but if all this sounds too good to be true, well, it's very doable, even though some title companies aren't doing it anymore. But there are some limitations and some things where you have to be careful about to you and the seller here, right? You're coming across as the expert, and so you want to make sure the seller knows their standard, what their risk is. And so the biggest risk is due on sale clause. This is where it gets real here. It gets difficult. They're powerful, but they have their risk, and the biggest one being that due on sale clause. It's in just about every mortgage. I don't know if I've ever not seen it in a mortgage. And it says if the property is sold or transferred, the lender has the right to call the entire loan due immediately. And so let me give you an example. I bought one of my first 4 or 5 duplexes in Plain City. I've talked about it on past episodes, and I did really well on them. But right after I bought it in my personal name to get the best interest rate, and then 30 days later, I transferred from my personal name to an LLC so I could get that better personal interest rate. Technically, the bank has a clause in there that they could have called that mortgage due, but as you'll find out, most cases they don't do it, and they didn't do that in my case. I owned that property for almost 5 more years, and then before I decided to sell it. You just want to make sure the payments are made and you're getting them caught up. They're in the business of collecting payments, not foreclosing or perform on performing loans. But it's a big but, and it's really up to them to decide. And at the end of the day, we just don't really know what they're going to do. And they do that, you can put yourself in a pretty tough situation along with the seller. And that's what we really want to make sure we know our risk and the seller knows the risk. You want to be able to pay this off or refi if this happens. And so you want to be very careful taking these loans on if you're not someone who is financeable or bankable or can come up with cash to pay this loan off and get the seller out of the even worse situation. As an investor, that's not our goal to put sellers in the worse situation than what they started with us. I mean, I wouldn't feel very good about that. And hopefully you don't too. And if you do, please do us all a service in this business and let's get out of this business. Let's go find something else because we're in the business of taking care of people. So when does subject to work, you ask? Well, the seller is typically distressed. They want a fast solution. Um, they can't sell the property for what they thought. And they have a decent mortgage. All right. So what's that look like? You start making payments. And if you're making them on consistent basis, I'm gonna bet the lender's not gonna look too closely. I've heard rumors that if they see an LLC change on the title, that they start looking closely, but I don't know that to be true or not. And I have 10 or so of these subject twos, and I've done about 6 or 7 where I've sold the subject two to someone else, and I've never heard of this happening. I will say I've heard of people having their loan called due after doing a subject two, but I've never personally had it happen on a transaction that I was a part of. And that's also a great thing. And so let's point out a picture here. What's this kind of look like? Imagine you got a seller. We're buying this house in Canal Winchester. They have 2 mortgages on their property. ARVs maybe 315, 320, maybe a little bit higher. They owe about 260 on the property. Their first mortgage is 2.7%, I believe. And then their second mortgage is around 5%. Because they did refinance or get a second mortgage at one point because the values appreciated. And they're just struggling to make ends meet. One of them's lost their job and they want to move quickly. And so what we've done in this situation, because we can't buy it cash and do all that, and rates are just too high and it needs a little bit of work. It needs to clean out, new carpet and paint before we can rent it out. But the total mortgage payments are like $1,500 or $1,600, significantly less than what we're currently get a house like that for. So we're taking over the payments, and we're actually going to give them 6 months to stay in the house. They're going to start making payments to us directly while we make the mortgage payments. We're getting a little bit of equity. The majority of the mortgage is at 2.75%, and then the line of credit's at, I think, 6%. And it gives us control. It gives us into a house that we couldn't otherwise get into. And it's a great opportunity for investors if they're struggling to find deals or get into deals that cash flow. But before you jump into these, you want to make sure you stay sharp. You need to have an exit plan. You need to have a backup plan if this is called due, because you don't want to put yourself in a tough spot or the seller. That's not fair to either of them. You want to make sure that you have the ability to refi out of this loan, even if you have to bring a little bit of cash, or you can sell it right away. And so make sure that you are diving deep into these things, and make sure you have a system in place to make these payments on time. And that's, you want to protect yourself from the note being called due. But at the end of the day, with what we do as investors, we want to take care of our sellers. And so it wouldn't be very great for you to take over a mortgage payment and not make the payments on time. It's not what we want to be known for. And we all have a due diligence as investors here to go above and beyond and make these payments on time and satisfy our agreements that we made. And now, just as a reminder, Subject to is a great and powerful tool to acquire more properties and potentially ones that are cash flowing with, once again, minimal cash out of pocket and without bank approval, right? You don't have to go through that process of filling out all that paperwork and doing all those loan documents. And it can be a great option for distressed sellers who don't have much going on for them as far as to get out of this house if they don't have cash. But remember, it does come with serious risk. The due on sale clause and potential foreclosure if the lender calls the note due could be a huge headache. And you want to make sure you have the fortitude to figure that out when it does eventually come if you're going to do lots of these. And remember, it's not for the faint of heart, because if you can't solve problems as if they arise, then you probably want to stay away from it. And if you don't have extra income or the means to refinance the property, if something were to happen in this foreclosure were to go through, you want to stay away. We want to make sure we're only doing this if we have options to really help the sellers out. So, guys, I appreciate you checking out another episode of Properties to Profits. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a 5-star review and like and share wherever you're watching this episode. If you guys would follow me on Instagram, realestatemike02. Look forward to talking with you guys soon. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Properties to Profit podcast. I hope you found today's episode valuable. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and share it with others who might benefit. Follow me on social media for more updates and tips. Until next time, keep turning properties into profits.